All right, settle in for this one. We're heading to a small, pretty remote village in Uttarakhand where a story unfolded well, it's the kind of story that sticks with you. It starts out simple enough, with a happy family, but it ends with a question that just hangs in the air, even years later.
I mean, just think about that for a second. It's a horrible thought, right? The idea that the very person who brought you into this world could, from beyond the grave, be the one to take you out of it. And that's exactly the question the people in this village were left asking themselves. So, let's unpack how they got there. So, let's meet the family at the heart of all this. Vimla, her husband, and their little girl, Geeta. They ran a tailoring business right out of their home. You could always hear the hum of the sewing machine. Life was good, you know? Business was steady, and they had this bright, happy little 4-year-old running around. By every measure, they were a picture-perfect family.
It was December, which meant wedding season was in full swing, so you can imagine they were swamped with orders. The house was just filled with fabrics and thread, and right in the middle of all this chaos, a messenger shows up. He'd come from a village just about 5 kilometers away with some bad news. The husband's sister was really, really sick, and she lived all by herself. With this mountain of work, they had to make a choice. Vimla decided to stay behind. She probably said something like, "Look, you go, take Geeta with you, I've got to get these orders done." So her husband packed a bag, held little Geeta's hand, and they headed off. They figured they'd be back in a few days, as soon as his sister was feeling a bit better. 4 days pass. They come back home expecting to walk into the usual sounds and smells of their life. But there was nothing. The house was just silent, totally still. The sewing machine wasn't running. Vimla wasn't there. They called out her name, but all they heard back was the echo of their own voices in a suddenly empty home. And here's the detail that is just so unbelievably creepy. When they looked at her sewing machine, there was still thread in the needle. A piece of fabric was sitting there, half-stitched. It looked exactly like she had just gotten up for a second to grab a cup of tea or stretch her legs and was about to come right back. But she didn't. She was just gone. And the years just started to slip by. For 12 long years, Geeta and her dad lived with this mystery. Then another tragedy hits. Her father has a stroke, he becomes paralyzed, and eventually he passes away. So now Geeta is just a teenager, and she's completely on her own. She keeps the family business going, this quiet, hardworking girl doing everything she can to survive. So picture this. Geeta is 17 now. It's late, 2:30 in the morning. She's working, trying to finish an order. The only sound is the whir of her own machine. And then she hears something else, a noise coming from the other room, her parents' old room, the one she'd kept locked for years, unable to face the memories inside. It's a rhythmic sound. Gut, 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 gut. There's no mistaking it. It's the sound of her mother's old sewing machine, the needle hitting the plate over and over again, from inside a room that had been sealed shut for more than a decade. I mean, your blood would run cold, wouldn't it? She's thinking, how is this possible? She has the only key. She creeps up to the door and listens. And yep, it's real. It's happening. There are no other doors, no windows. It's a completely sealed room. Yet someone, or something, is inside, sewing. It takes her a while, but she finally finds that old rusty key. Her hand is shaking as she puts it in the lock. She turns it, the door creaks open, and in that exact instant, the sound stops. Dead silence. She peeks inside, the room is dark, dusty, and the machine is perfectly still. She calls out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" Nothing. She starts to think, okay, I'm just tired, I'm imagining things. She pulls the door to close it, and just as it's about to click shut, it starts again. The foot pedal starts pumping, up and down, up and down. The needle is just a blur flying into the machine. And there is absolutely no one there. Suddenly, the air in the room just goes ice cold. You know that feeling? A deep chill that has nothing to do with the weather. Her fear is screaming at her to run. But this is the room where her mother vanished. She has to know. So she takes a step inside, closer to the machine. And that's when she sees it. On the wall, a shadow. Now, the light from the hallway behind her was casting her own shadow on the floor in front of her. She could see it plain as day. But this other shadow, this one was on the wall to her right. It was tall and dark and just wrong. It meant that something else was in that room with her, standing in the dark, blocking the light. Before she can even process it, the shadow starts to move. It starts to grow. It stretches up the wall, spills onto the ceiling, getting bigger and darker and bigger, until it's not just a shadow anymore, it's a wave of pure blackness that just swallows the entire room and her with it. And from that suffocating darkness, a single terrified scream rips through the quiet of the night. And then, complete silence. The neighbors heard it. They came running and banging on the door. "Geeta, are you okay?" But a voice from inside, a weird, guttural voice that wasn't hers, answered back, "I'm fine, just dropped something." So they went home, a little unsettled. The next day, when she still hadn't come out, they knew something was wrong. They broke the door down, and what they found, it was a nightmare. Geeta was lying there, tangled up in spools of thread, like a fly in a spiderweb. Her face was blue, and her eyes were wide open, frozen with a look of absolute terror. The whole village was just terrified. This wasn't a normal death. So they sent for a man named Pandit Raghunath, a psychic from another village who was known for being able to see things, to see the history of a place. He came to the house, went into that cursed room, and began to meditate, trying to find out what really happened. As the Pandit sat there, a voice started speaking in his mind. It was a woman's voice, full of sorrow. It was weeping, and it said, "I am Geeta's mother. I didn't kill my daughter." And the Pandit understood. The evil thing that killed Geeta, it wasn't Vimla's ghost at all. It was something else, something ancient and dark. And then he saw it all, like a movie playing in his head. He saw that night, 13 years ago. After her family left, this dark entity, this witch, came into the room and brutally murdered Vimla. But it had help. A person, an accomplice, came in after, dug a hole right there in the dirt floor, put Vimla's body inside, and then dragged the heavy sewing machine right on top of the spot to hide it forever. The Pandit came out and told the villagers this horrifying story. You can imagine their shock. The very next morning, a group of them went into the room. They moved that old, heavy machine out of the way, and they started to dig into the floorboards. And it didn't take long before they hit something. A skeleton. It was Vimla. They had finally found her. By finding her remains, they had set Vimla's spirit free from that room. But her soul wasn't at peace. Oh no, not yet. She knew who had summoned that evil. She knew who her human accomplice was. And now she was finally free to get her revenge.
A few weeks later, a very old man in the village, someone people had always whispered about, saying he practiced black magic, was seen down by the river, screaming at the sky, begging something unseen to forgive him. And then suddenly he just grabbed his throat. He choked, collapsed, and died right there. When they found him, his face was blue. His eyes were wide with terror. He died in the exact same horrifying way as Geeta. Vimla's spirit had finally found its justice.
So this whole thing leaves you with a really chilling thought, doesn't it? We always hear that a mother's love is the most powerful force on earth, that it can protect her children from anything. But this story asks a different question. What about a mother's rage? What happens when that powerful love is twisted into vengeance? How strong is that? And that is a question nobody in that village ever wants to find the answer to again.